Welcome back, everybody, to the Even Your Dynasty show.
We just got breaking news in.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Even Your Dynasty show. We've exchanged Dan for Ricky this week. Dan is on assignment now that Ricky's back. No, Dan went to a concert and he's a little raspy today, it sounds. So it's just going to be us two today.
Yep. It's been an interesting 2-3 weeks. Missed a lot. Was down in Mexico while the trades were going down and Giants were free falling, and now they're starting to finally bounce back a little bit, hopefully showing a little bit of sign of life.
Yeah. I mean, that's all we can kind of hope for. I mean, they lost what? 3 or they won 3 out of like 16 games. They went 3-13, I think, right before the deadline. So they sold, as they should. I mean, when you're sitting at 500 behind, 5-6 games behind the third wild card, they did what you're supposed to do there. And, since then they've played a bit better baseball. They won, 4 out of 6 on the road, took both series against the Mets, which is big because that's one of the teams they're chasing. They also, took 2 of 3 from the Pirates in Pittsburgh. It was a little bit of a disappointment because they, blew that first game, but at least they bounced back, took the second and third. And now they've got a really big, 13 games ahead of them that, I mean, it feels kind of, a little bit hopeless. Like I don't want to sit there and get my hopes up about the playoffs or anything like that. I'm definitely not pushing this whole, hey, we're still in it narrative or anything like that. But they do have 13 games where they get 7 against San Diego in that stretch. So if they're even going to attempt to, scratch and claw their way back into relevant baseball games, it's going to happen over the next couple weeks.
Yeah, without a doubt. And as nice as the road trip was for the most part, I will say games like that first one in Pittsburgh that they blew in the 9th inning, those are games at this point you kind of have to have, because ultimately your margin for error, if you do want to make that third wild card spot, is extremely slim. I think they've pretty much got to go around 13 games over 500 going forward in order to, be in the 85 to like 88 win range. So at this point, they're really going to need to take advantage of some of the weaker teams like Washington. I would say, honestly, even Tampa. Those are series you really have to take advantage of those teams because, those in-division games like the 7 against San Diego you mentioned, those are going to be really tough one way or another. And San Diego is playing really good baseball right now.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for the $5, Nathan. He's blaming the Giants free fall on Ricky calling him a drunk. So appreciate you, Nathan. That's hilarious. Yeah, no, without a doubt though. Like Washington, I mean, I don't want to sit there and say like you got to sweep a team, but we might be getting kind of into that territory right now where they really need a run where they go and win like 8 of 10. They need some kind of big hot couple weeks where they can bring themselves back into it if they want to play relevant baseball games. And then, I mean, the other side of that is just, even if they do scratch and claw their way back in, you kind of question how sustainable it might be, given the fact that they kind of gutted their bullpen. They're going to be relying on a lot of young arms. They're going to be relying on a lot of, young arms that are at their innings limit even, or their career high in innings. I shouldn't say limit because they're obviously still going, but they're at their career highs in innings. And I don't know how much confidence that inspires, but hopefully they do get a little bit of help back. Hopefully Landon Roop will be not far away from returning. Yeah, I mean, so what'd you see over the last 2 series that, anything that really stood out that you liked or didn't?
I think the lineup showed a little bit more sign of life. Saw a couple of home runs sprinkled in there. Verlander has been a much better pitcher over the last, I'd say, 3 starts. I want to say it has been. So you have that. So that adds a little bit of extra stability while, Roop has been out. You get Roop back. That would be a huge win. But, Willie Adames continues to hit. You've seen some new guys come in and contribute. And, not to dump on Yaz, but having a guy like that out of the mix really opens up opportunity for a lot of other guys. And it kind of gives them a little bit more flexibility in the way they, want to set a lineup and have their defense out there. And obviously, we can't expect a guy like Grant McCray to give you the same level of production offensively that Yaz was giving you. But ultimately, I think you might look at a couple of these moves as, addition by subtraction. Obviously Duvall and Rogers are big losses, but, just opening up our opportunities for some other guys might be a huge plus. And, honestly, at this point, the team might be playing a little bit looser now that, they kind of sold at the deadline. And hey, what do you have to worry about at this point? So, and ultimately, I do think that, the core of the team is still there. I mean, your core is mostly built out of the front end of your rotation and your lineup. It's just the lineup hasn't really come through all year. So now's the time. They definitely still have a chance to go on a run, but it is going to be really tough playing on the margins with, the back end of your pen gutted a little bit.
Yeah, no, 100%. And you're dead on. If the lineup gets going, it does change outlook, especially if Verlander's throwing at least solid and giving you 5 to 6 quality innings every start. Once you get Root back, you feel you'd feel like you're running at least comfortably 3 deep, maybe even 4, depending on Verlander. And if the offense can get going, if Rafi Devers can get going, if Jung Hoo Lee can go back to being that, table setter, kind of spark plug, big time producer like he's been the last 6 games and he was for April and early May. If he can be that guy, then it changes the outlook a bit. If the offense is actually putting runs on the board. Obviously Willie's been swinging it well. The last couple games, I feel like I've watched his at bats a little bit worse last couple games, but hopefully he gets he enjoys the day off and he can get heat right back up on I guess that's Friday tomorrow. But hopefully McCray gets going. I saw a couple people mention him. It's been a week. I can't really jump too far down that guy's throat right now. I mean, it's been a week. It's been an ugly week, but it's been a week, and hopefully he can settle in. I'd imagine the Giants are going to try and give him at least a little bit of a runway. They're not going to just dump him after 2 weeks. So with Harar getting hurt, I know Posey mentioned on KNBR that Matos is probably going to be the guy that comes back up. But I mean, I wouldn't rule out something like Drew Gilbert if they just decide they feel he gives them the best chance. He was not in the lineup in SAC today. Now they're an hour up the road or 2 hours up the road, so it's not like that necessarily means anything with the day off, but it's just kind of something to keep your eye out on going forward.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing with Gilbert is obviously him being a lefty. You're kind of looking at, are you going to just give him full runway at right field? With Harar being hurt, kind of takes away one of those right-handed options. It kind of makes me wonder how they would go about that, or would they bring up Matos at the same time in Harar's spot, and then just, I don't know. It'll be interesting. Gilbert definitely looks like he's kind of big league ready and deserving of it. He's been really good since joining the River Cats, but that will be interesting. And then just another thing, going back to the bullpen, it is interesting to look at, with the 2 guys that they lost in the back end of their pen, but they did get Budo in return. from the Mets in the Tyler Rogers trade, and he's been really good so far. So, hopefully that can stabilize the back end a little bit as like a 7th or 8th inning guy, whether it's, replacing, Randy's workload from before or even Tyler Rogers' workload. And then they've also had the emergence of, a couple of lefties in the pen since Eric Miller's gone on the IL too, with Gage being really good. I don't think he's given up a single run yet as a Giant. And then Luke Casey's really stepped up since they've made all those moves as well. So that's definitely been encouraging to see.
Yeah, both of those guys have been sneaky good pickups by Posey and Manassian and those guys. Yeah, Gage, I believe, is no earned runs so far. I know he allowed a couple guys to score that he inherited, but yeah, no earned. But Casey's been rock solid. And not just like meaningless innings either. Like these guys have actually thrown some decently high leverage, innings and done pretty well. But that said, I do feel like the team really needs to get Eric Miller back, especially because you look at the back end of the bullpen. I think the other day, the day that Randy had the blown save, it kind of showed where this team's at the moment, where Spencer Bivens was out there in the 8th inning. And I mean, I give Bivens all the credit in the world. He's been rock solid this season, but if he's throwing your 8th inning, you've got an issue. So that's kind of where they're at. Hopefully they can get at least Miller back. They're going to, I mean, at this point, the deadline's gone and they've already gutted their pen a bit. So you kind of don't really know who else is going to be really out there unless like Ryan Walker can just get his stuff together at some point. They don't really have a ton of late inning options at the moment.
Yeah, it kind of seems like Ryan Walker is just going to be the setup guy going forward, and they're just going to roll with that. And unless he, really craps the bed again over the next couple of weeks, but it seems like they're just going to roll with him. He has been pitching a little bit better as of late. But I will say the bullpen doesn't seem like it's as in big a shambles as one might have expected if you told us that, hey, you're going to lose Camilo and Tyler. And part of what I meant by addition by subtraction too is, Camilo at times was really dominant, looked like one of the best relievers in the National League. And then other times you couldn't trust him because he had zero command. So, it is possible that, maybe they get a little bit more stability on the back end, losing him. And then, if, we end up losing Wilmer due to injury, that might be another one that's kind of addition by subtraction too, as far as getting Dom Smith in there a little bit more consistently, getting an upgrade at first defensively when Devers isn't over there. And then also getting a little bit more steady of a bat. I mean, we've seen Wilmer is a shell of the guy he was early on in the season. He's basically got virtually no power anymore. And he's not coming through with runners in scoring position quite like he was early on in the season.
Yeah, 100%. I think Wilmer's the one where, especially with how Dom Smith is playing right now, it very well might be just kind of, it might benefit the club, him going down for a bit, because Dom Smith is playing really well. He's a definitively better defender at first base. Like that's not even close. And then offensively, he's swinging the bat right now and a little bit more pop at the moment, but he's got kind of the similar clutch gene. He's been coming up in big at bats with, 2 outs, runners in scoring position. He's been coming through. He had that big hit in the 9th to put him ahead coming off the bench on yesterday's game. And a couple moments, I think, against the Mets as well, where it felt like, maybe Chapman had a bad at bat in front of him or whoever it was. And then he picked him up on the next at bat. And it feels like he's kind of been doing that a lot this season. And especially the last like month, getting him out there, like that's big to me. So I think this team, if they really are serious about trying to get back in it, you gotta roll with your best guys. Like it's you can't be sentimental anymore. We can't be just chucking Wilmer out there to chuck Wilmer out there. Like his best role is probably off the bench because he'll still give you a decent at bat late in a game, and he'll have fresh legs if he's not playing all that much. So, it just that's probably his best role. And as far as right field goes, Yaz, he's still a solid defender, and he was okay offensively. I think he's probably right around league average at this point offensively. I'm not going to sit here and guarantee that they're going to upgrade from that because I'm not going to like try and disrespect Yaz like that. Like he was still a solid player overall, but they do have a couple guys that have potential to be upgrades in at least parts of the game. If you have Gilbert or McRae out there, but you might actually potentially get an upgrade defensively. As much as everybody talks about how Yaz has played right field in Oracle Park forever, the reality is like his range has kind of been shot. And I say that, and he, had made a cool catch hopping over the fence, and then he just robbed a home run in Fenway, although it's like a 2-foot fence. But he's made some solid plays still, but like overall on the season, you can see his range has been kind of shot. So with McRae or Gilbert, you might potentially get an upgrade defensively. And who knows, like if McRae can get his bat going, he definitely brings that speed element. He brings something that the team lacks. So yeah, it could help the team ultimately making that move.
Yeah, and with Yaz, the thing is obviously when his bat is right, he's definitely an above average hitter. But the problem is he goes through these prolonged slumps, and you're just getting so much inconsistency. You might as well at this point, experiment with a couple of these younger guys while you very well may have no chance at getting back into the playoff mix, and just use this time as an evaluation because the Giants are just one of those organizations that are just so timid when it comes to, opening up space for a younger guy and letting him have a little bit of runway. And regardless of Yaz getting traded, he was a guy on his last year of his contract. So it's perfect time to have those evaluations. And like I said before, it gives the Giants a little bit more flexibility. And especially if, like I said, Wilmer goes down too, you just have a lot more, flexibility in the lineup and what you can do day in and day out with these guys. So that's kind of where I'm at on that. He was, a very likable Giant for a lot of fans, but it was definitely time. See what McRae has. And like you said, if he just goes out there and is striking out 50% of the time, well, perfect. Now you got Gilbert in there, who's been a lot more stable down in AAA and might give you a little bit more steady presence at the bottom of your lineup.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's do a quick look ahead. We mentioned they've got Washington. They've got I think San Diego, then Tampa, and then they go to San Diego again after, I believe is the order in which they have this coming up. Mm-hmm. Doing a quick preview. They're playing the Nationals tomorrow. It's going to be a 9-game homestand. They've got Jake Irvin, who I think they faced earlier in the year. Isn't he the one that kind of shut him down for like 8 innings or something like that? Or am I thinking of a different guy? I feel like he pitched.
Yeah, I do believe it was Irvin.
Yeah, 8 innings of scoreless ball. So hopefully they got a better showing today or tomorrow, I should say, for that one. But they're going to face Jake Irvin. Giants, it's still TBD. I think the idea is it's technically Tang's spot, but maybe I haven't heard anything, but maybe they're saving that for maybe Roop returns, maybe they go with a bullpen game, maybe Beck starts, who knows. But Tang did start at this spot in the rotation last time. After that, they've got on Saturday, I know Wisenhunt's going to pitch for the Giants. They're facing Brad Lord, who's a 25-year-old. I haven't actually seen him pitch, but he's pitched out of the pen most of the year. and he'll be starting this game. I can't say I know too much about him beyond that. Maybe Ricky, you got a scouting report on that guy, but
no, I do not.
Yeah, never heard of him. And then they get Mackenzie Gore on Sunday against Verlander. So that's probably going to be a bit of a tough one. Obviously, Gore's a lefty. Giants have historically this season been pretty terrible against lefties, although I do think they did manage to beat Gore earlier in the year. So hopefully they can, find a way to beat him again. And yeah, then they're going to move on to San Diego and a huge 3-game homestand there. And then they got Tampa. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, we're going to really see if the Giants offense has actually come to life or not, getting 2 lefties in one series. Yeah, you were right on Irvin going 8 scoreless, and then even Gore, he went 6 innings of 1-run ball, and that was a 4-0 game by the Giants, and they kind of didn't really tack on any runs until the 8th inning. So
I feel like Sam Huff homered that game. I might just be pulling that out of my rear end, but like I feel like that was a game where like Sam Huff went yard to tack on a couple later.
Might have been.
Yeah, I don't remember. Yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, there's a faint glimmer of hope left, but that's going to kind of lead us into the second part of this here. If you guys do have any topics you want us to talk about, definitely throw them in the chat. We'll, be sure to cover it. Jen says that Posey said on KMBR today that maybe they had an opener. They'll have an opener lefty or two before pitching Tang. It could make sense, try and get the Nationals to not stack up on lefties or something early in the game. Who knows? I don't think they should be relying on Tang to go more than like 3, maybe 4 innings tops. So, we'll see there. Yeah, I mean, Alex, I agree. I don't really want openers, but the Giants being down multiple starters right now, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, I'm kind of with them on that. I mean, they do have the guys to do an opener right now. I mean, we've seen Gage go 2 innings. We've seen Budo go a couple innings. We've seen, even Randy's been doing it lately. They've really been, getting a lot of innings out of all these guys. We've seen it out of, obviously Luke Casey's normally a starter. So you have him in there too, but definitely not a fan of it, especially for this series when I believe we're looking at that game, and then we're looking at Wisenhunt and I believe Verlander. So you might need that pen every single one of those games. So
yeah, I can't say I have a ton of confidence in either Wisenhunt or Verlander going more than 5. So I definitely with Wisenhunt, you got to be careful just because of where he's at innings wise. And Verlander just hasn't shown any kind of efficiency. Like that's the main thing there. He's been throwing the ball well. He just keeps racking up 95, 100 pitches through 5. So it's like, we'll see there. But that, yeah, this is going to kind of lead us into the second part of the show. We're going to do a little bit of kind of second half goals, different things that we want to see out of this team. I mean, I know they're already 115 games into the season, but I guess I could more call them post deadline goals for the Giants. So if you guys have any that you want to put in there, slap them in the comments. But I mean, okay, so do you want me to kick it off or you want to kick it off? I don't really care.
You go for it.
Okay, so the first one, I put a team goal because, I mean, as much as I want to sit here and go make the playoffs, when you're 5-6 games out, like I'm not going that route, even though there's only 2 teams really in front of them for that. But I would say the first one for me, get to 85 wins. Like, I feel like that's a reasonable, attainable goal. That's 8 games over 500. It seemed like something that they could have, for a long time, it felt like they were going to have a chance to pretty easily reach that. They went on a huge skid. Now I'm like, okay, if you can win 85 plus, you can go into the offseason feeling pretty good about the direction of the team, at least. having made some moves to improve the team, emergence of guys like Landon Roop as a starter. We'll talk about a few of the other young guys. Maybe they plug a couple other holes where they feel like they can go into the offseason as an 85 win team and go, okay, how can we get ourselves to 90? And it just feels less daunting if you're going from 85 to 90 than if this team goes down the tank and you're trying to go from like 78 to 90. So I think that's kind of the first thing for me, would just as a team goal, get to like 85 or more wins.
Okay. I would say for me, it would be playing meaningful baseball until that last week of September. Be in the mix. And that could be, being 2 games back of the third wild card. That could be 3. Just be in that mix down to the very end and get, like you said, close to that 85 win range. Because if you can stay in that mix going into that last week of the season, you've got 3 against St. Louis and you've got 3 against Colorado. And at least keep things interesting while also giving a few of these young guys a chance to play some meaningful baseball and get an evaluation on, these potential right field candidates for next season, because we don't know what's going to happen in free agency. I am not counting at all on them landing a Kyle Tucker type or one of those big names. So just be playing meaningful baseball that last week of September, and then get an evaluation on right field. See what you got. I mean, if Farrar ends up being out the rest of the season, that is the perfect opportunity to have the excuse to be just running out Gilbert, Matos, McCray, whoever it's going to be. Give somebody extended run and really get an evaluation on these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, and that brought me into kind of my second goal there. Figure out right field, like what to do in right field in 2026. Because right now they have an opportunity. By trading Yaz, they have a chance. They have 3 or 4 guys that you could make a case for. I mean, I don't really put Luciano in that group, so probably more 3, because you're not putting Luciano in right field. And given what we've seen out of Elliot Ramos this year, not sure you're really going to want to put him in right field either.
No.
And if Giants fans think Elliot Ramos is a nightmare in left field, watch Marco Luciano play left field. So I think there's 3 guys that you really have that you can take a good, long, hard look at. If you want to go everyday playing time for Luis Matos, you can go that route. I know a lot of people have watched him that aren't a big fan. I know Ricky and we've been harsh on him as far as his at-bats, especially the last month or 2. It's like he's not exactly doing anything to really force the team to give him any more playing time. And we've defended him a ton on this channel. But like I can't watch him roll a ball over to third base that was a foot off the plate outside anymore and think, yeah, this guy needs to play. So you can go the McCray route. He might strike out a ton. So to me, those guys have been in the system a while. Give them a look. That's fine. And then you also got Drew Gilbert. If you don't like what you've seen out of Matos or McCray, then get Gilbert up here. Give him a month or so, because you've got an opportunity in the offseason to go attack, upgrading that position. But you might have the solution in the roster, like on your, in your system currently. So that's why it's like, and guy like Drew Gilbert, he has over 600 plate appearances in AAA in his career already. I mean, this isn't a guy that just got to AAA and we're talking about rushing him up. I mean, he played parts of last season up there and he played all of this season in AAA. So ton of experience there. I think you've got to figure out that spot, and we're going to, jump to a few other spots as well. But I think that's important, because if you get through this season, you give these guys opportunities and you don't like what you see, then you can get so aggressive in the offseason. And the offseason is such an easier time to try and upgrade a spot. So I think that's got to be like top priority right now.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I would just seeing what we're seeing down in AAA, I would definitely bring Gilbert up. I mean, I know McRae just barely came up, but I definitely think Gilbert's the most deserving of the three. And there's a pretty easy path to get him on the 40-man. Surprised they haven't done it already. But just see what he has, and maybe you give him like a full month and just see what he's got. And if he struggles, make sure Matos is down in Sacramento actually taking good at bats. He knows that's his issue, plate discipline. And ultimately he needs to prove that. And if he can prove that and then come up to the big league level and show he has a little bit of plate discipline, the production will come. I mean, we know that the hit tool with Matos is good, but will he stay within the strike zone? That's the biggest question. So I really don't think Matos really deserves it until he proves otherwise. Because, I mean, we were just talking about it last night. Matos, I mean, I know it was only his, first or second game back down there. And he immediately chased a pitch basically in the other batter's box. At some point we got to
two of them
scale it back. Yeah.
So. He took like a grooved fastball and then he chased two pitches off the plate. I'm just like, dude.
Yeah.
Like
and the other thing with Gilbert too, it's not just a short sample size in Sacramento. It's also when he was playing with, I believe, Syracuse in the Mets organization. He's had a really good strikeout to walk ratio all year. So why not? And he's putting up pretty good power numbers too. He's got, I believe, 14 on the season.
Yeah. No, 100%. I know I brought it. Let me see if I still have it. I gotta preview it. I don't know which one it is. I'll have to try and find it in a minute. Yeah, I mean, I had it last week's live show where when we talked the Tyler Rogers trade, where I pulled up Gilbert's like AAA, the metrics, I guess you could call it. And yeah, I mean, his chase, his whiff, his chase, I think was actually a little bit higher. It was kind of like around league average, but the whiff and strikeout rates were like elite. So that's more translatable to this level. If you can at least have decent plate discipline and you can consistently put the bat on the ball, you have such a better chance of succeeding. Because, I mean, you see what's happening to McRae right now, and he just can't get the ball in play right now. And if you're not putting it in play, you don't even give yourself a chance, especially with his speed. So it's tough. So with Gilbert, I mean, I would not be upset in the least if this team just said, you know what, we're going to roll with Gilbert. I mean, hell, you could keep McRae up as a fourth or fifth outfielder right now if you really want to, even though it's a couple lefties. Just keep him up and give him an occasional spot start for Ramos, and like Ramos DH and have Devers play first. Like, you can get a little creative moving guys around, and let McRae come off the bench as a pinch runner late in games, or in different roles that might give you a shot in some of these games late in the year. So I wouldn't be upset by that. I think like you said, Gilbert's kind of the most deserving, and he's a really good defender. I mean, he's been playing center field quite a bit. You move him to right, I mean, he's not the speediest guy, but he's got solid range and he's got a cannon. So like, he can definitely handle right field.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, what more to motivate these guys for the first time in years, with Yaz not being there? I mean, he'd been around for, I think, 6 years. This is the only time they've really had an extended look at these guys and saying, hey, it's your job to earn or win and, take with you. So I honestly think that's the way to go. I mean, there's plenty of time to get an evaluation on all three of these guys and just kind of mix and match it. And like I said, especially if Ferrara is gonna be out most of the rest of the season.
Found it. Yeah, I mean, okay, actually his chase rate was pretty good. I was thinking of a different guy that they just moved. I think it might have been Jesus Rodriguez's chase was a little bit high, but yeah, I mean, great chase, great whiff, great in contact rate in the zone, great strikeout rate. doesn't draw a ton of walks, but that said, it's still above average. And when you're a contact hitter that doesn't miss a lot, you tend to not draw as many walks because you put the ball in play. The pull percentage was kind of shocking, but then you watch how he plays. And he really does wear out both the right center and down the line. So it's not like you can just cheat him in a spot and take away a bunch of these hits. Like he will yank one right down the line. He'll also drive it into the gap. And oh, by the way, he's hit, I think a triple and a double now the opposite way in his 3 or 4 games in Sacramento. So he's showing the ability to go the other way with it and with some pop. So I like what I've seen out of Gilbert. I mean, obviously he's not going to hit 500 forever in Sacramento, but he's been swinging it really well. He's drawing some walks. So just the at bat quality is a complete step up. I would love to get this guy up right now.
Yeah, for sure. And just see if you catch lightning in a bottle. But the good thing about that too, even with the high pull percentage, is that actually plays pretty well at Oracle Park, because I mean, something we've complained a lot about is guys constantly hitting it into, the direction of Triples Alley, because almost every visiting team plays to defend Triples Alley and says, we'll give you the double down the line. Go ahead and try to hit it down there. And they all shade both their center fielder and their right fielder over to that gap. So
100%. 100%. I mean, when we went to that game in April, and like, we were sitting looking down the third or the first baseline for reference for everyone. And I mean, every time, I mean, the right fielder's like 100 feet from the foul line. You're just like, and I think Lee had like a double and a triple in that game, and both were balls right down the line. And it's like, guys, line drives over there. You're gonna run a while. Like, forget Triples Alley. If you've got any kind of speed and you put one down the line, you're probably gonna get a triple there. So I just, that's how far away they're playing those guys. So you'd love to see more of that out of a few of these lefties in particular.
Yeah, without a doubt.
I do think Gilbert has been leading off in Sacramento. I don't recall if he was leading off or hitting like second or third with Syracuse when he was over there, but at least in the very small sample size, he has led off in Sacramento.
Yeah, I mean, if he comes up here, I would fully expect him to be hitting 7th and 8th pretty consistently. And then they would probably look at putting Lee back up to the leadoff spot against right-handed pitching, especially with the way he's been hitting as of late. He definitely is trending in the direction of deserving to get moved back up to the top. And then you can still do, Ramos at the top against left-handed pitching.
Yeah. 100%. The hard thing with Ramos is, and I do feel like he's a little bit miscast as a leadoff hitter right now, but he's actually embraced the role pretty well. It definitely feels like he's not trying to swing for much pop. You can tell it's like singles and walks with him right now. And I mean, he's got a 20 game on base streak going. So it's really impressive what he's doing, but it still feels like it's not utilizing him to the best of his skill set. Because they could use the power there. But until they get a better option, I mean, he's kind of the best they have right now. He's been the most consistent hitter on the team. So it's kind of tough.
Yeah, I mean, that's where it's kind of like the team is kind of going to go in whatever direction Jung-Hoo Lee's going all year. Like, there couldn't be a guy that's any more vital to at least the hitting side success, because hitting that guy at the top completely just erases a ton of issues in that lineup. And when he's not going well and you got to hit him at the bottom, it really changes the entire dynamic, because Ramos is one of their more consistent hitters, and it really sucks to see him completely take away all of his extra base hits, because he's a guy that the way he was hitting the first couple of months of the season, he should have definitely been trending towards like 25 bombs this year.
Yeah.
And now we're looking at a situation where you're like, shit, hopefully he gets to 20.
Yeah. I don't have any confidence in that at this point. I mean, he's got like 1 home run in the last month and a half, it feels like.
But
crazy.
hey, I mean, everybody wants those higher averages, and you look at it, and he's sitting at 274, and he's kind of been in the, upper 200s for, a good amount of the season.
Yeah. Amen, brother.
Don't get me started on that.
Yeah. It's a sore spot. We cannot stand it. Harris says Johnny level highlights look good. Future seems bright. Yeah, I mean, Johnny's hitting like 320 right now in A-ball. I mean, it's a small sample, but 18 years old, got him up in A-ball. I mean, he has a good month to finish the year, and I'm going to just say it right now. He'll be a top 100 prospect when they do the shuffle.
Better be.
I mean, he better be, because if he was a Dodger or a Yankee, he'd be like ranked 60th.
Well, and if you look at it, I think there's like 3 guys that are in like the top 25, 30 prospects in the game right now that are all 18-year-olds in high A, and everybody just completely raves about them. One of them on the Brewers, and Johnny's like, in my opinion, right there, right in line with those guys. He's just not as far up, and that's in part because of the organization he's in. If he was in an organization that was promoting people a little more aggressively, we probably would have seen him in San Jose a couple months ago.
Yeah. The way he was playing in Arizona, he would have been I would say at least a minimum of a month earlier. So Jason says, before we get into a few more goals, Jason says free Dakota Jordan from San Jose. Yeah, I feel like I've been like spearheading the Justice for Dakota Jordan movement on X for the last little bit. I don't know what the hell they're doing with him still in San Jose, but he wasn't in the lineup today. Jacob Christian just missed his 2nd straight game in Eugene, who's been playing in the outfield there, which sucks. Friend of the show. Obviously, we love Jacob, but he hasn't played the last couple games, and Eugene's really light on outfielders, and frankly, Dakota deserves a promotion anyway. So might we see him by the weekend? Who knows? Or next week? We'll see.
Hey, without getting on too big of a tangent, I will say, as much as it is frustrating not seeing some of these really deserving players get promoted, when we all as fans feel like they should be getting bumped up, it has produced a ton of really good results out of the system this season. The Giants farm system as a whole has been significantly better from a production standpoint this season than it was last season. I mean, last season it felt like almost everybody had a down year outside of Bryce and a couple others. And this season you're seeing so many of their top prospects have bounce back years and really produce. So I don't really want to hate on what they're doing too much, because at the end of the day, this is what breeds, more complete players and guys that are ready to roll when they actually do come up versus, guys like Birdsong and Broop and Wisenhunt, who are all, hitting their innings limits, or as far as like what they've done in their career. And now you're looking at having to scale guys back mid-season. You don't want to be at a point like that. It makes it so much harder as a functioning contender in the big leagues to have pitchers have to get, stopped in the middle of the season because they're starting to get tired, or they're way beyond what they pitched at any point in their career. So I think what they're doing is smart, and it seems to be working. So
yeah, without a doubt. I was all for Dakota I said it so many times. I was all for him getting almost, the majority of this season in San Jose. I think he's just hit that point where he's been good all year, and then he's kicked it into another gear where he's just completely obliterated that level for the last probably month of games that he's played. Mm-hmm. And I'm just also a believer in rewarding guys for a great year with a promotion, especially that last 4 or 5 weeks of the year where you can get them up there, get them a taste. They can go experience that, It's a little bit faster game, a little bit, the pitchers are going to command their off speed a little bit better in Eugene. All those things where he can see it and then go, okay, now I can learn from this and come back next year ready to rock when he hits Eugene. So I want to give him that shot to like really jumpstart 2026, because rather than him show up in 2026 having played all year in San Jose and then maybe he's struggling when he gets there right out the gate. So it's like, it just gives him a little more chance, I feel like. Oh wait, wrong one. Hold on. You want to comment on that one, Ricky?
Yeah, it's honestly pretty funny because they posted about how he had a 2-homer game with the Dodgers, and he actually did that this season while in the Giants organization. Cody and I had said multiple times that he should have been in the top 100 prospects list, and he never was while he was doing well. And we've all been joking that more than likely, preseason 2026, he'll probably be in that top 100 just because the organization he's in. It's very frustrating for anybody that likes to argue that those lists aren't totally rigged in terms of favoring certain organizations. It absolutely is.
Yeah, super frustrating. But I just thought I thought that was funny, and I also thought your comment earlier today was funny, where you're like, the Red Sox thought so highly of him that they traded him for Dustin May.
Yeah, not only for 2 months of Dustin May, but to experiment with Dustin May, who isn't even under contract next season. He's literally talking in that interview about how they're having him experiment with throwing his cutter more out of the pen, and it's like, you guys just gave up a guy that was a pretty high first-round pick last season, who is a pretty legitimate prospect for 2 months of a rental pitcher.
Yeah,
it's pretty crazy.
It's nuts. All right, I'm gonna get back to a couple other things I have written down for goals. I think this is a big one. Figure out if Randy Rodriguez is your closer, or if you need to go out and find a late inning arm in the offseason. I could see a reunion with Tyler Rogers potentially in the offseason, though I don't see that as a closer, obviously. Like, they bring him back to just pitch the eighth again. But I think it's important that who cares if he blows some saves? Who cares if he goes through struggles? Just let him be the closer the rest of the season. Let's see what he's made of. Let's see what happens. And for the love of God, Bob Melvin, he has struggled in multiple inning roles this season. Yes, he did it a lot successfully last year. He has struggled this season in those late innings if you try and put him in for more than one inning. So when he's your closer, there is nothing wrong with a guy that is a strictly one inning guy. I know we all love it when a closer can get you 4 or 5 outs, but especially for a first-time closer, the adrenaline hit, he comes in the game, he throws 2 pitches in Pittsburgh, gets the guy out, Bailey threw out a base steal, a stolen base attempt, but he throws 2 pitches and then he's got to go sit down, and the high goes down, and then he goes back out there for the 9th and he struggles to find the zone. And I mean, he's had moments like that even when he comes in the first inning of work for him. But to me, that is just not setting up your guy to succeed when he's in a new role like that. I hated that so much. And I'm not trying to make excuses for the guy, but I just think that's just not doing right by him in that situation, especially because there was only a runner on first. And yeah, we could all sit there and say, oh, if Bivens gave up a bomb, we'd all be feeling differently about this. But it's like, if you're worried about Bivens giving up a bomb, then he should be out there in the 8th inning anyway. So, like, that's just kind of the reality. Like, you give Randy the best chance to succeed. So I think it's just important, though. And, he's had some ups and downs. I love that he bounced back, had a 3 up, 3 down inning to save yesterday's game and the game against the Mets. Like, he comes in. Yes, he was a little bit erratic, but I mean, he faced arguably the best lineup in baseball, or one of the top probably 3 or 5 lineups in baseball, and he got, a ghost runner, and he had to go through the top of the order, and he pitched a clean inning. So I just I think the upside is clearly there, but I think you have to figure out, like, I that's got to be the goal. Like, let's feel with confidence one way or the other going into next season.
Yeah. Other than, having an evaluation on right field and finding, kind of who you want to lean towards next season, if it is one of these guys internally that you allow to take over the starting right field job, I would say bringing up a couple of the young relief guys from Sacramento and just start trying to establish roles in the pen, because since they did make the Duvall and Rogers trades, the roles in the bullpen right now are a complete shit show. Like when you look at it,
roles.
It's a sloppy mess right now. You have, I want to say, like 5 guys that are like long men in that pen right now that are all doing this weird, like 2 innings at a time relief stint. You have Beck in there, who is like a middle reliever. Bivens, a middle reliever. You have Lucchesi, really a middle reliever, but he's being used in some late inning situations as a lefty. But you got another lefty in the pen right now with Gage as well, who's pitched good. You have Seymour, who is a starter that is in the pen right now. You have Tang, who is a starter / reliever, who really should be middle relief and could be coming in after your opener. And then who knows what they're going to do with Wisenhunt when Roop comes back too. So, and you have Birdsong in Sacramento. But going back to my original point, I would like to see not only Birdsong come up, but Roxby and Trent Harris. Yeah. I would like to see those guys come up and then start having a little bit of a hierarchy in that bullpen and kind of cut out some of the influx that we've had of these middle relief options that are giving you distance, because it's really hard to get behind. If you burn your high leverage guys in one game, you're out here, having Carson Seymour pitch the 6th and 7th or the 7th and 8th. And it's like, dude, he's been a starting pitcher all year. Like you can't just throw him into the fire in high leverage situations and expect that to go well. Like that's just, as somebody who's pitched their whole life, like those are such completely different roles. Like not everybody's going to be built for that. Seymour obviously has good stuff. We know that he can throw with some nice velocity, but maybe experiment with that in Sacramento a little bit more if you're going to, try to throw him into that situation in his like 4th big league appearance. Like that's just insanity, in my opinion.
100%.
So that's kind of where I'm at with the pen too. I agree 100% as far as figure it out with Randy, figure out if Buto or Walker is going to be your setup guy, or if they're interchangeable in the 7th and 8th, and then kind of figure out what you're going to do with Gage and Lucchesi and then work down from there. Mix in some of those younger guys.
Yeah, for sure. I would love to see some of those late inning guys. I actually have this kind of, and this is, I'm actually going to tie this into the next one I had, was figure out a 5th starter, because you're going to have, Verlander's going to be gone next year. You have Ray, you have Webb, you have Roop. I think we all feel every Giants fan here feels confident in those 3 going into next season, barring any kind of health. And I would say no matter what happens, this team should go out and sign a starter, at least one. Like, it doesn't have to necessarily be a front end starter, but like a guy that you feel confident in is like a number 3. I mean, whether, not to say like, hey, now all of a sudden Roop's a 4. Like, I think Roop's a solid number 3 in your rotation, but like another guy of that caliber. There's a few guys that maybe are a little better than that. Guys like Framber Valdez that I would love to get on the Giants pitching in this park. I think the team should get aggressive at someone like that. But you got to figure out a fifth starter and figure out, hey, do we need to go outside the system and get a guy that we're going to just put in the rotation day one? Or do we need to go out and just get a Jacob Junis type that, hey, if crap goes sideways, we can start this guy? Or, when they got Sean Manaea, it was kind of like that. Now Manaea obviously established himself, but someone of that caliber where it's like, okay, if stuff goes sideways, we can start him, and be okay with that. So I kind of want to see for the rest of the season, let's let Wisenhunt go, pitch every fifth day or whatever. If you need to go back to Birdsong at some point, because Wisenhunt may hit his innings where you got to get him out of the rotation, maybe put him down into the pen. And then maybe Birdsong gets some more starts at that point, if he can figure out what's going on with his command down in Sacramento. And then the other part of that, with Birdsong especially, he actually could be a pretty decent high leverage late inning reliever. So, if you don't feel super confident in him as a starter and you feel pretty good about Wisenhunt going deeper in the year, maybe you put Birdsong back in the pen and you just bring him up as a reliever and just see what you got there. I don't like giving up on him as a starter at 23 years old, but also like he could be pretty dominant out of the pen. We saw it earlier this year.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I was going to say is we saw him even do the back-to-back innings late in games a couple of times because they had him in kind of a weird role early on in the season where he wasn't a starter, but they did want to give him a little bit of length, and they did use him a handful of times in high leverage situations. Alex, he hasn't been great down in AAA. Not terrible, but his last start, I believe he went 4 innings with 4 earned runs. He gave up a couple home runs. Very hitter-friendly league down there, so it's kind of hard to take too much from that. Command was still a little bit of a problem. He has 3 walks through 8 innings across 2 starts, so not great. Definitely still needs to work on it, but the command has been a little bit better than what it was before he got sent down. Me personally on Birdsong, I feel like he should just be kept in Sacramento the rest of the year and let him just ride it out over there since he's already going to get the innings in down there, and you're not going to have to worry about, potentially if they do get back into the wild card mix, having a guy like that who you don't know day in, day out if the command's going to be there, and just kind of continue to get an evaluation on Wisenhunt up here. Wisenhunt's a little bit older. He's got plenty of time down in the minors. Would be kind of nice to see what he's got. I feel really good about Roop going forward as, potentially your number 3, or maybe he is just your number 4 if you do go and get a veteran guy. I definitely would do that though, whether it's Framber or, like you said, somebody a little bit cheaper. I would absolutely bring in a veteran starter just because, again, you look at most of the Giants' successful rotations of the past, they almost always had a certain amount of veteran guys in there. They're not typically going to rely on 3 young arms that are kind of unproven. Even if it's a guy for 1 year, because, next season might be enough to really get that full evaluation on Roop and say, okay, you're solidified. You're a legit big leaguer now. You can handle a full season back-to-back years. And then he slides into what is currently Verlander's spot. But yeah, my thing is going back to the bullpen, establishing roles, bringing up some of those higher leverage types down in Sacramento with Roxby and Harris, and have them slide into like those 5th, 6th, 7th inning spots where it's not quite as high leverage as the 8th and 9th, and kind of like let them earn their stripes in those spots and, cut back on some of these middle relief options, like I was saying. And plus it allows you to, cut some fat off of the 40 man as well too, because the same thing can be said on the 40 man. There's a ton of arms on the 40 man that all kind of fill the same roles, and it's gotten very redundant with most of them being in Sacramento right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of replied to this in the chat, but just to clarify what I was saying, I'm suggesting the Giants go get a front, a 2-3 level starter. And then my point about Junis was in addition to that, not instead. it was get a front end guy, a guy like Valdez, who potentially could basically just, you get a year overlap with him and Ray, and then he could potentially, kind of slip into that spot when Ray maybe walks after the year, who knows, after next season. And then figure out if you feel comfortable with a guy like Wisenhunt filling the fifth role or the fifth starter, or if you need to go get a better player, maybe you're chasing a guy like, I don't know, Walker Bueller. I'm just throwing a name out there of a guy that's going to be a free agent next year, or a Savali or whatever, someone that you'd want in that role. And if you feel good about Wisenhunt, then maybe you're feeling comfortable with getting like a Jacob Junis that can, be more of a, if crap hits the wall guy that you slide him in. So just clarifying, that's kind of where I was going with it. So, yes, if you guys do not follow Ricky over on Instagram, sfgiantscove, it's up on his thing there. Obviously not while I have the comment up. Follow that. Lots of good Giants prospect stuff. He gets a ton of reposts from prospects, and Bryce reposted our stuff the other day, which was pretty cool. So,
yeah, lots of stuff on there. Just, pretty much every single day, other than Mondays when all the minor leagues are off. But yeah, just about every day.
Yeah, obviously he had a nice little week off, so.
Yeah,
not a ton. Rick says, how about Tidwell? I would rather see Tidwell starting games than Kaiwei Tang, if I'm being honest here.
Yeah.
For those of you that didn't see it, Tidwell looked pretty sharp the other day. Some of his pitch mix is a bit of a work in progress, but the slider, kind of the sweeper that he's got, is pretty nasty. He'll also throw the gyro slider. Changeup's a bit of a work in progress. He drops the occasional pearl with that, but and then the other thing is the fastball. He ran it up to 98.5 in the first. It seemed like he was still sustaining, 95, 96 most of the game, but a lot, he's got a live arm. I think he racked up 9 strikeouts. Command has always been a bit spotty for him, but pretty impressive, first start with the org. And he's got quite a bit of experience in AAA, and he's already got major league experience. It hasn't gone the best for him, but he has some, and he's on the 40 man already. So if they want to bring up, and he's got a totally awesome name, Blade. So just throwing that out there too.
I would definitely expect to see him on the big league team at some point this season. I'd be really surprised if they don't try to get a look at him at some point, just given, the state of the team, their record, and, what the back end of the rotation looks like. And even, like I said, with that current mess that is the bullpen.
Yeah. Could we possibly trade for Joe Ryan? He'd be a huge acquisition. Not sure we can afford the prospects. They could trade for Joe Ryan, but I don't know if anybody's going to stomach what you'd have to give up to get him. Because it probably starts with Bryce Eldridge. And then I'm not sure beyond that. You're talking like Bryce, and then probably throw like a Dakota or a Bo, maybe a Joshua in there. This is going to be this would be an absurd package that you'd have to give up to get Joe Ryan. And I love Joe Ryan, but the Giants have lacked left-handed power for 20 years. And you got a guy on the doorstep. At some point you got to just take a risk and say, what do we got out of this guy?
Yeah.
And I kind of would rather do that.
Yeah, I don't think Ryan's the type of dude you go and give that big of a haul up for, especially with the Giants being able to develop arms themselves. it makes more sense when you're doing it for like a Devers, because the Giants haven't been able to develop power hitting. Doesn't really make as much sense for like front end starting pitching, especially when there's going to be a few guys available in free agency, and the fact that the Giants have the ability to actually spend a lot more money this offseason since they sit under their tax.
Yeah, for sure. I think he's like, part of it is just where the Giants are as an organization right now. Like if they were, if they had a really solid young core of position players and they felt like they were a playoff team, but they needed to like try and get over the hump with a better starting rotation, I might feel a little bit differently. Like I might feel like, okay, you can take the risk, because he is under contract for a couple more years. And he's still, I think he's only like 29. So, I mean, you could try and extend him and stuff like that, but I could see a scenario where it would make sense. It's just, I don't think the Giants are in a position where it does. So
he makes a lot more sense for like a Cubs or a Brewers type team that has, a lot of depth in the top end of their farm system. And then also kind of a need for high end starting pitching like that.
Yeah. Alex, I could be wrong, but I believe he has 2 more years after this.
Yes, he does. He doesn't hit free agency until age 32.
Thanks, Willem.
So,
yeah. So, hey, maybe you can get him for a deal back then, or deal then. Yeah, I mean, he also would make sense for like Boston. I know they were kind of deep in talks on that. So, they've got a ton of young position talent and a lot of top prospects up near the majors or have already debuted now in the majors. So,
they're Dustin May and Kyle Harrison.
Yeah. I saw a tweet today where Boston, could be a podcast writer, I don't know, blog, Boston media group of some sort, posted Harrison had a great start where he went like 5 scoreless, but he walked it was only like 3 walks, which I thought was kind of hilarious to see this comment. But someone was like, yeah, if he can just get the walks in order, he could be really good if he just gets the walks in order. I'm thinking, you should listen to Giants fans for the last 3 years. I mean, that sounds pretty familiar there, buddy. We've been asking that question for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like, that's literally why he got traded and why Giants fans were kind of blowing off, for the most part when he got traded.
Yeah. Do you think the Giants will try and sign a Kyle Tucker and or Bo Bichette? Do either you see both coming to the Giants? I
definitely not both.
Yeah, definitely not both. Of the two, Bo Bichette is probably considerably more likely, just given the price tag. But I mean, man, y'all know how I feel about Kyle Tucker. I mean, I think they should just put a blank check in front of him and see if he'll come. I mean, he's a freaking special player. So, all right, I had one last goal for this, and I'll share it. Dan actually said the same thing. For the Giants' second half goals, this is the only individual statistic I put up here. It still feels a little bit far out right now, but that's the only one I've got. He's on pace for 25 and a half or something like that home runs right now. But they have 47 games left. He has hit in the month of since July 1st, he has hit 9 home runs. He's doubled his home run total. So I'm like, and he had a 7 home run month of July. If he can, hit 5 more here if he can go hit, end up with 7 in August, he's already hit 2 in August. If he can hit 5 more this month, he'd be at 23 going into September. And then he would need a 3rd straight 7 homer month to reach 30. So probably not going to happen. It's a bit out there for him, but I feel like of the guys on the roster, because I'm not going to count Devers. To me, you got to hit 30 in the Giants uniform, not between 2 teams. Of the guys on the team, I feel like he's been kind of the hottest, swinging the best power bat. And he has done this before where he's sustained it for like 3 or 4 months. So I feel like if there is a guy that has a shot to do it, it's going to be Willie down the stretch. And I'm tired of that stupid statistic. So I'm putting it out there. That's a goal.
Yeah. It'd be so Giants though for Devers to go out and get just absolutely red hot over the next, almost 2 months and hit 30. And then everybody to be going back and forth on whether or not it counts. I could totally see that happening too.
Yeah. Bake that dough. As long as he doesn't do what Belt did. I mean, it wasn't Belt's fault, but as long as he doesn't do what Belt did and get to 29 and then like break his hand a week before the season ends. I am still so bitter about that, man. I was so confident. I mean, he got to 29. They're playing like at Coors Field and they've got like 7 or 8 games left. I'm like, dude, he's going to do it. Like he's going to break there. And then he breaks his hand. I'm like, you're joking. And it was on like a bunt attempt. Like it was so stupid.
Yeah.
But yeah. The 30th will be hit to triples alley. Yeah. Get robbed of one. That would be the Giants thing. I think they finish the year at home too. That would be the most Giants thing is he gets to 29 and he hits a ball like high off the bricks and right center or something. It's like a home run in 28 parts.
Hey, he could easily have like 22 or 23 right now for sure.
Yeah.
I remember there was like one homestand where he hit 2 like right in front of the wall. And I remember one was going to be like a game winner or
it was a Marlins series.
Home run.
Yeah. It would have been a walk-off grand slam and it caught
it.
Yeah. He's definitely had a few of those. I've also said that, if they moved the foul pole about 30 feet to the left, you'd have like 45 homers this season already.
Yeah.
Spent the whole first half hooking balls deep in the bleachers foul. Yeah, no, I he's the one guy I think that's got a shot. I mean, Chapman I think is also at 18, but I don't know. His swing right now isn't inspiring a ton of confidence in me. So
yeah,
let's see. You guys got anything else? He says, do we ever see Fitz again?
No.
Turn on a Sacramento game. You can see him. Yeah, no, I do think we'll see him in a Giants uniform again at some point.
Yeah,
but I mean, I'll just tell you guys this. I've been watching the Sacramento games like I've done all year, and it's not inspiring confidence in me. Like for him to come back, like it's a lot of what we've been seeing in San Francisco. A lot of chase, you can't lay off that slider down and away. I mean, he's spent a lot of the year, it feels like, between 2 speeds. He's late on the fastball, early on the off speed, and he occasionally, because it's AAA, he occasionally gets a little bit better pitches to hit, and he's doing a little better job driving the ball down there. But I just too many strikeouts, not enough hard contact. Doesn't use his speed as much as he should. Like he's got a lot of work to do if he's going to come back. And frankly, Christian Koss is playing well enough that, I mean, whose job is Fitz taking? Because he's not taking Schmidt or Koss's job. Yeah. So,
yeah, I mean, Fitz has displayed almost no power. The one calling card he had to kind of stick on the roster, and then you have Koss, who, I mean, I've said it all year. He's very, very clearly somebody that's well liked within the Giants brass between Manasseh and Posey, whoever, just for the fact that he's a more contact oriented hitter. And then also he's definitely the best defensive second baseman they have. And he's even really good at shortstop defensively when they've had him there.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Costa's just been rock solid kind of, defensively wherever they put him. Like you feel pretty good about him out there. So for sure. Nick says, would you guys take a chance on Zach Gallen in the offseason, maybe rehabbing him? Is he currently hurt? I haven't paid that close attention to the Diamondbacks after they sold everyone.
Yeah, I'm not sure that he's hurt right now. I haven't been watching their games either.
Would he be
But
rehabbing, or would it just be like a bounce back candidate? Because I know he's had a
yeah,
little bit of a down year.
that's what I was wondering too, because yeah, he's been pretty awful all year. I mean, even the Giants, when they were struggling, kind of roughed him up a little bit last time in Arizona, I believe. Let's see.
Yeah, I don't see anything that he's hurt, but I mean, he's having a rough year. I think okay, yeah, George says he's not hurt. It's bounce back candidate. Yeah, I mean, like, he's a perfect guy to kind of try and grab, and you might get him on like a Bueller type deal from this season where it's, it's not cheap per se, but it's a kind of mitigated risk where it's 1 year, 20 million with a second player option where it's the 1-and-1 basically. And you just bank on the fact that he's going to give you a good year and then he's going to walk after it. And, I would still be chasing a guy like Fromber that you're going to try and sign to a, 4-year deal or something like that. That's because he is like 32. So I don't think he's going to sign 5+ years or anything like that. But if you can get him on like 3 or 4 years, like I'd rather go get Fromber and then maybe you go get Gallon for the 5th starter or something like that.
Yeah, and I feel like with Framber too, with him, it gives you, a backup option when you potentially lose Ray after the end of next season. As far as a lefty that will slot into the front end of your rotation. I'm definitely not opposed to Gallon though. As long as it's not costing you, like you said, potentially a draft pick. I don't know. That would definitely be something to look into. If it's going to be a low cost, low risk type move, might be worth it. Just stay away from those kind of 1-and-1 deals that Farhan loved doing, because I just am so not down for more of those where you take on all the risk just to basically get 1 year of a good pitcher. Yeah, it's nice for that 1 year, but it doesn't really do anything for your rotation going forward.
Yeah.
Definitely want more stability.
For sure. Yeah, I don't want it for like that to be the only guy. Like if they got Fromber and they did it, I'd be like, okay, whatever. I don't care. But let's see. There was another one in here. Oh yeah. Does Gallon get a qualifying offer? May not be smart. Yeah, I mean, if he gets a qualifying offer, I probably am not going after Gallon personally. I mean, maybe on like a 3-year deal, but I mean, it's been rough this season. He is only 30 though. I mean, there's reason to believe he could bounce back. So we'll see. Alex, do we let Ray walk? Ray is under contract for 1 more year. He does not have an opt out. His contract had 1 opt out, and it was after year 3, which was this last offseason. And kind of luckily for the Giants, coming off the Tommy John, he was in no position to opt out there because there was still a lot of risk for him, and they may have benefited greatly from that. So we'll see. Yeah, that's the goal right now, is to get to 2K subscribers by the end of the year. We're a little over 1,900. You guys did awesome yesterday. I think our minor league update that I posted Tuesday, it's got an outside shot of hitting 2,000 views, which is the most I've ever had on one of those, which is really awesome. So appreciate you guys. Love doing those minor league updates. We're going to keep doing those through the end of the year. I think I only got like 5 or 6 of them left at this point in the year. Which, I mean, I will say I love doing them. It'll be a nice little break when they're done, because it's those are a lot of work every week, but enjoy doing it. We'll keep doing the live shows even when the season ends. We always like to run those through the off season, try and do a weekly one. And then we, especially as the rumor mill starts picking up, we'll be posting like a couple videos weekly on top of the live shows. So a lot of stuff in the works. We've got a lot of player interviews and things like that we're working on, kind of setting up for the off season. We don't have anything like hard scheduled, but we've got a lot of guys that have told us they're interested. So we'll definitely have some of that for you guys in the off season. And yeah, so we appreciate you guys, all the support. We'll do some sort of giveaway when we get to 2000. So haven't decided what. Might be some Even Your Dynasty Show merch. It might be, we've done a lot of different stuff. We've had like signed jerseys, signed balls, cards. So I don't know. We'll think of something cool to do for 2K.
For sure. Yeah, you guys feel free to drop stuff down in the next couple shows as well. And if there's anything in particular people would prefer, we can definitely talk about that.
Yeah. Ryan's not going to sleep till he gets your signed Eldridge jersey.
Maybe years down the road. We got to get to a pretty high mark for that one.
That's like I got that. I always tell Dan, I'm like, I got that Bochy ball up there. And I'm like, that would have to be like 10K. Like especially when he hits the Hall of Fame, it's like, damn, I could not. I'm going to struggle with that one. It's it's awesome. But yeah, we appreciate you guys, all the support you guys give us. It's just phenomenal. So yeah. You guys have anything else you want us to touch on really quick? We're going to wrap it up here in a couple minutes. Ricky, by the way, if you got to go for it. I can close it down.
Yeah, all good, man. I'm gonna take off.
All right, man. Take it easy. Everybody, if you got anything else you want me to touch on before we jump off here, go ahead and fire away. Let's see. Alex, as much as I would love to do that and get a credential, I'll just be honest. I don't think they would ever consider doing it for someone like us, or for a channel like ours. Unfortunately, we are a little more critical than most organizations would like the people that cover the team to be. It's just is what it is. We're going to say some things that unfortunately they're not going to appreciate at times. It's always in good, sometimes we make some jokes and things like that, but it's always in good spirit at the end of the day. But we're not going to tolerate, mediocre products or mediocre play. And we would ask questions that I'm sure they don't want to hear, unfortunately. Things like, why is Matt Chapman still hitting fourth when there is mountains of evidence that suggests he should not be there? So, kind of is what it is. We would love to, we would love to do that, at least for not necessarily every day, but we would love to have that credentials for like spring training and things like that, where we could get out to some of these places and have pretty solid access. But it's tough to get those, especially doing things like this, like a podcast. So Anthony says, why is everyone pushing for Bryce to come up? I mean, the obvious answer is because he's just gone on an insane tear in AAA. His last 23-ish games. Now, he did have a sombrero yesterday after he had another big game the day before. But the big answer is just the tear that he's been on. Now, I don't necessarily think that I said it on the minor league report on Tuesday. Like, for me with Bryce, the date I've targeted is about August 26th, roughly. The reason being is I want to see him maintain rookie status going into next season. And some of that's going to depend on, okay, how does he look over the next 3 weeks? I do think he could use another 2, 3, 4 weeks, whatever, in the minors, for sure. And if the team's got kind of a chance and he's still just kicking the door down, then yeah, at that point, if he's forcing the issue, I'm all for it. I don't want to rush guys, but I also don't want to hold them back. I've been pretty consistent with that, I feel like, over the last couple of years. And with Bryce, like, if you maintain rookie status next season, he's eligible for the prospect promotion incentive, which means that if he wins rookie of the year, if he's on the roster basically the whole season, I think he can miss or it's essentially they have to accumulate a year of service time, which means they can only be in the minors for like less than 15 days. If he's up for almost the whole year next year, and then he wins either the rookie of the year or he gets MVP votes or anything like that, he can still, if he gets any of that, the Giants would actually get a draft pick like right at the end of the first round. It's like a comp pick right after the first. So it's basically the equivalent of a late first. So like that is a reason to kind of hold off a little bit. And to me, this team is just not close enough to making a run that it's worth pulling them up early and sacrificing that chance. Like that's kind of where I'm at. So that's why I would hold off at least 3 weeks. And if you do it on like the 26th, like I mentioned, it would mean he would debut at home. There'd be 32 games left. He should easily stay under 130 at bats at that point. You wouldn't have to worry about the whole 45 days thing. So he would maintain his rookie status going into next year. So. So Gilbert's a little bit different. I don't think, Gilbert's not rated on a bunch of those different top prospect lists. So you don't have to worry about the whole rookie status thing here. With the way the service time works, even if they brought him up now, they wouldn't have to worry about him being like, they're not going to lose a year of service time. He would still have 6 years of control. So I think there's less concern there. The reason Bryce is kind of his own special case is because part of that prospect promotion incentive is they have to be like top 100 prospects on multiple lists. And Bryce is, pretty unanimously like top 20 on every list. So that's kind of where they're a little bit different cases. With Gilbert back, I think what's holding him back and why other guys are getting a look is because for a guy like Luis Matos, he is on his last option year. Marco Luciano, last option year. Grant McCray is already on the 40-man, whereas Gilbert is not. So they're probably trying to exhaust the people that are on the 40-man before they go the Gilbert route. Now, that said, he's kind of forcing it a little bit. I mean, very small sample size in Sacramento, but as I mentioned earlier, tons of experience in AAA. So if he gets, if he keeps doing what he's doing and nobody really steps up over the next few weeks, I think we're going to see him this year. Mike says, if not Bryce, who do the Giants bring up now for first base? Well, Herrera's been playing mostly outfield, so they still have Dom and Rafi playing first, and then occasionally Wilmer, who hasn't gone on the IL yet, so I'm assuming he's probably dodged that bullet. So you kind of have 3 guys that can play first at the moment. The team would have to, if they're going to bring Bryce up at some point, they're going to have to make the tough decision on Wilmer, in my opinion, because Dom Smith has thoroughly outplayed him. So that's kind of where, if Herrera's done for, possibly the year, it sounded like the way Bob Melvin was talking about his hamstring, I wouldn't expect to see him again this season. But I would expect, Matos to come back or them to fill it, the outfield. It's either going to be, to me, Matos or like Gilbert, if they go that route. I don't, but Gilbert's tough because they already have McCray up. So I don't think they're going to go with 2 lefties. Alex says, what about Rodriguez? He would be a very solid backup catcher right now. Kisner is forgettable. Yeah, I don't think they're going to bring him up just yet. He's still a bit of a work in progress defensively behind the plate. He's got a pretty good arm, but he's a bit of a work in progress as a receiver. I don't think he's quite ready to be a big league catcher. And the issue with him is he's kind of got to stick at catcher if he's going to really have a ton of value for this team going forward. So I don't think we're going to see Rodriguez yet. But I do think that's their goal, is that eventually he is kind of able to be the backup catcher. Maybe as soon as next year, maybe if he takes enough strides defensively next year, I think it's in play for sure. If he's still a work in progress behind the plate, might take a bit longer. Are you really confident in Randy being the closer? I mean, I'm confident in Randy. If they just kind of let him go, but that's why we've got 2 more months in the season. And I've said, regardless of struggles, just keep putting him out there as the closer and figure out one way or the other. Yeah. If he's the closer or not. If he does great, awesome. He's your closer next year. If he shows too many things that you feel like you need to go get a closer, then at least after the next 47 or so games. So overall, it's a small sample size of what we've seen in him since he's actually been the closer. He's only had 3 attempts. And, like I said earlier, it's not that I want to sit here and make excuses, but I felt like there was a reason for his struggles in Pittsburgh. I just don't think pulling him in with 2 outs in the 8th was the play there. William says, how do you see Bryce doing next year, full MLB season? I mean, it's hard. It's so hard to project what these guys could do as young players. I mean, I think Bryce has that potential to be a 40 home run threat year in and year out. As a rookie, I think he struggles enough against off speed that I think as a rookie, he's going to struggle with some of that. I mean, he'll only be 21 years old next season, but I do think he's going to punish some mistakes. Like I think comfortably 20 to 25, like maybe 25-ish home runs. If he was like on the roster opening day to the end of the year, I feel like he'd end up hitting like 25 or so, or 25-ish home runs. Probably will strike out a ton. I mean, he's 6'7", and like it's a lot of strike zone to cover for him. Defensively, he's been making strides year to year and month to month. So, yeah, I mean, I could see him doing well, but I think there's going to be struggles involved with that. I mean, he's not a finished product by any stretch. Yes, Harris, I did play growing up. I was a catcher. Loved it. Fortunately, very undersized, so that career did not last super long, but played, umpired, did all sorts of fun stuff with baseball. Been around the game a lot in my life and love it. So, has anyone told Bryce his home park will be big, cold, and windy? Yeah, I think he's got that one figured out. Mike says, what are Bryce's stats in AAA? I don't have them memorized by any stretch. I think he's hitting around 265 or 270 at this point, somewhere between 260 and 270. But I know he has like 11 home runs in 33 games or something like that. It's been kind of absurd. He has more RBIs, I think, than games played in AAA. But he's also striking out like 30% of the time. So it's a bit tough. A lot of that damage was the first 11 games of his AAA career. Tons of strikeouts, and then the sombrero yesterday doesn't help him. But overall, been much better the last 23-ish games. So I think this is a good one right here. So how does he compare to Nick Kurtz? I think Nick Kurtz is a more finished product the day he arrived in the majors than Eldridge will be when he reaches San Francisco. But Kurtz was also 2 years older than him, I believe. Right now he's 22. Bryce is only 20. I don't know where their birthdays line up. I know Bryce is going to turn 21, I think, in October. But comparatively, like, I think similar as far as like power profiles and offensive profiles entirely. I think Bryce probably has higher raw power, but Kurtz also is going to be playing in a much friendlier environment to hit. So I don't know how the power numbers are going to end up shaking out throughout their careers. Kurtz is obviously also hitting like 300 right now, or 311. I'm not sure Bryce is going to be a guy that's going to be a 300 plus hitter. I do think he has the ability to be, a 270 plus hitter. He's got a really solid hit tool. He does strike out quite a bit. That possibly will hold him back on his ability to hit for a super high average. But when he does barrel the ball, like, he doesn't exactly hit it where guys are catching it a lot of the time. So they're a little bit different players. Kurtz is a little bit more advanced defensively. He's a more natural first baseman. Bryce, didn't take up first base until last season. So it's a work in progress, though he has improved considerably. I'll take a few more of these. I'm going to be wrapping it up here probably in just a couple minutes. I know you guys, I always love, this is like my favorite part of these live shows. We try and have a good amount of stuff that we want to talk about, but I just like doing the chat interactions, especially at the end before we wrap it up. So If anybody else has any more questions, slap them in there. Also, Cam, if you're watching, happy birthday, bro. Just saw your message. Yeah, 100% Ridge. Like Kurtz was he played, I think, 2 or 3 years at Wake Forest. So, I mean, Bryce obviously has more experience, more professional experience because he was in the minors all of last season and a little bit at the end of 2023. Whereas Kurtz was still in college during that time. But yeah, I mean, Kurtz got the college experience at a very good program at Wake Forest, and then came and he came in and pretty much just dominated from day one. Which, I mean, to Bryce's credit, I mean, he's gone through a little bit of struggles at every level as he's moved through the system, but except for high A where he just dominated from start to finish, but he always figures it out, and then he just shows he's too good for the level pretty quickly at that point. How do I feel about Tang? I feel better this season than I did last season. A couple of years ago, I actually felt like he earned getting on the 40-man last season. He earned every bit of getting DFA'd. This season, the stuff is a little better. The command's been a little bit better. I think his ceiling's really just like a low leverage reliever, but he's not. I'm not the biggest Kaiwei Tang fan. That's for sure. Yeah, Wizenhunt did. All right, best live game attended. I mean, so the easy answer is I was at 756 for Barry. Today's the 18-year anniversary. God, I'm old. 18-year anniversary of that game. Yeah, we were at that game. He hit a double in the first inning and into Triple's alley that I think might have like either been a ground rule double or like one hop the fence deep into Triple's alley. And I was like, this dude's not going to get another pitch to hit all game. And he did and parked one. So that was probably the easy answer. We were I've been to a few really fun games. Just like I've been to some 14 inning games that the Giants have won. I've been to, the game I was at earlier this year, they played the Reds with the Yaz walk-off. That was super fun. So yeah, I mean that I've been lucky to see some pretty good games. I've seen my fair share of clunkers where the Giants have gotten just blown out, but that's part of baseball. So we're gonna wrap it up here though. Do I see Bryce going to the home run derby next year? Probably not next year, but maybe in a couple of years. That'd be pretty sweet. Love it. 162. That's a good one. The one that I will always regret is I had some soft plans to try and get to the game that ended up being Matt Cain's no-hitter or perfect game. I mean, so wish I would have gone. Oh well, it is what it is. But I'm going to wrap it up. I appreciate everybody for joining in. Like I said earlier, please do hit that like, hit the subscribe. We appreciate all the support you guys give. We're trying to get to 2K. So last time I'm going to say that, please do. Other than that, go Giants. You'll for sure hear from me next Tuesday when we do next week's minor league update. And then we're going to be doing the live show the following Thursday. So catch you guys all later. Go Giants, and we'll see you next time.